So this week I had an epiphany. It occurred to me that most of the time what we do is take this infinite nature that we keep talking about and trying to squeeze it in to our perceived reality, instead of allowing our perceived reality to transform into infinite nature. Now, some of you may know what I'm talking about. Many of you may not. I'm going to explain it. I've been thinking about this all week. I've tried it out on a couple of people. So far, I had no success getting this across. So we'll see how I do today. Because it was a real eye-opener for me in terms of my life, in terms of how I operate, and so I figured that I may not be the only one. And so what I'm talking about here is something happens in our lives, our perceived reality. And some people may go, what do you mean perceived reality? Those facts. This is what happened. And I'm going, well, that's how we're perceiving it. Right? And so what we do then is, if we've been in this movement for a while, been in this teaching, taken some classes, like the 50 plus people who are taking the class now, you're going to learn how to harness this power, this energy, this essence into that situation to shift it in the direction you want to go. And the thing about it is it works. So since it works, taking what we teach here, this infinite nature, and putting it into your perceived reality, why would you even care what I'm talking about? Right? Why does it matter? And that's been my big question all week, is why does it matter, since actually, if you just go take the foundations class, you keep taking classes, you keep practicing what it is we do here, what's going to happen is your quality of life's going to get better. That's a given. You do the work around here, your quality of life improves. The thing about it is maybe some of you want something even more. I do. And that's why this was important to me, was taking a look at my life and seeing how often when I allowed myself to let go of my perceived reality, how it would transform into something completely different that I never saw coming. My ego mind never could imagine. And so it comes down to the fact that even though there's only one, there's two of us. There's two of us all the time. There's our ego mind person, and then there's our larger person that is completely intact with all of it. That is all-knowing, has everything covered, is never concerned or worried about the circumstance, because this part of you knows that whatever looks like a tragedy now or disaster or whatever can lead to something, can transform into something extraordinary, can transform into something that you never even saw coming, you never even thought possible. But to do that, to get to a place of where you get to experience what you never saw coming, you have to be willing to go beyond what you think is your perceived reality. And that's not always so easy to do, right? Your bank account's empty. Your kid's sick. You have a diagnosis. You just lost your job. All these things are in your perceived reality. And you can get caught up in, I need to fix this. I need to handle this. I mean, people come to this teaching in one or two ways. Either their life is like not working at all, and they use this teaching, and then their life begins to work. Or their life is working, and they use this teaching, and their life even gets better, a higher quality of life. That's what happens. What I'm speaking about is something beyond that. Something that works out when you can't even imagine how that's going to happen. But to do that, you have to be willing to look at that empty bank account, your kid's sick, these other things, and think there's something else going on here. There's something larger, and if I allow for that, something greater can come along that I don't even know. Now, am I saying don't take your kid to the hospital if he needs it? No. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that in the midst of all that, in the midst of taking care of whatever you need to take care of, we have a teaching here that allows for something greater to happen than we can imagine. So one of the things I've been thinking about is how far back do I want to go to explain all this in the course of my life? Because not a single plan I ever put into action ever turned out in my life. Not one. And I was looking at all that, and I was looking at how with every single plan not working, how my life turned out. And I look at how and there was something really lucky about that. I didn't know that at the time. There were times in my life I felt like a complete failure. It's only in retrospect going here now, wow, look at how all that unfolded. I was homeless in New York City. And I had a job, but it wasn't a big paying job. And I was using a rental service to try to help me find a place to live that would take the little bit of money that I was making for rent and deposit. And they were having no luck at all. And it was getting on to, and I'd been sleeping on benches, on couches. I was really in a bad way. And the woman went to her boss and said, we're getting close to Christmas and this guy's homeless. Is there anything we can do for him? And the guy, who I had never met, didn't know me, I didn't see this coming at all, goes, I actually have an apartment I haven't rented. He could probably stay there through the holidays. And so we meet each other, and I've been living on the streets. I'm pretty dirty. But he liked me, and so he takes me to this apartment, says, you can stay here through the holidays. It was a 5-bedroom, stunning, two bathroom, high ceilings, not like these high ceilings, but an apartment height. Cherry wood finish all around. It was stunning. And he's like, you get to stay here for the next 2 weeks. I was like, oh my God, I didn't see this coming. And so I'm staying in this apartment, and it dawns on me, if I find 4 roommates, maybe he'll let us stay. And so I put an ad in, and I started, and in a week, I filled the place with roommates. And so then I told the owner about it. I said, the landlord about it. I said, I now have your rent money that you want for this place because I got all these roommates. And he was like, great, and gave me a lease. He comes back to me 2 weeks later and says, I have this other 5-bedroom place upstairs. And if you can do up there what you did here, you can make a profit on it. I didn't see that coming. So I was like, okay, let me give it a shot. And sure enough, I did. I filled it, and before long, he's telling his friends about me, and I have this apartment business with over 50 tenants, collecting over $15,000 a month in rent, and that was supporting me just fine. So it came out of nowhere. I didn't see that coming. I was homeless on the street. So my life's going along, and then all of a sudden, the woman I'm with at the time, my second wife, she gets pregnant, and I don't want to raise a kid in Brooklyn. I was living in Brooklyn at the time, so we decided we're going to move out of the city, so I give up this apartment business. I just give it up, because I am sure, I'm going to make a great carpenter. I'd been practicing like crazy and doing all these odd jobs, and I was just certain that this was my future, was being a master carpenter. Every job I got hired on, I got hurt and wound up in the hospital. Every time. And then they'd fire me because I couldn't keep up. It wasn't that I had bad skills, but I couldn't do them fast enough. So I'm fired, and I'm fired, and I'm fired. And my son's born, and my hands are all cut up, and my leg. and so, but I now have this newborn son, and so I started looking for insurance that I could get just for him, because I didn't have enough money to get insurance for me or my wife at the time. And as I'm making these phone calls trying to get insurance, this one guy asks, why? Why are you looking for insurance just for your son? And I said, because I don't have any work right now, and I need something to cover him. He says, well, I got a job for you. And I wound up selling insurance. I didn't see that coming. And I sold so much insurance, I was making over six figures a year. And then I wound up in the hospital and almost died. I didn't see that coming. And so I wound up selling the business and thinking about moving to Tucson, Arizona, because it was February and I never wanted to see snow again. That's right. I was done with it. you see the humor here, right? You don't know where you're going to wind up if you're willing to just let go and see what happens next. I mean, I have been lucky. I have been astounded by the different. I could go on and on about all the different times that what happened next was I didn't see coming, had no idea, and it was out of a disaster. Right? Here I'm sick as a dog in New York. I can't stand the cold, so I sell my book of business, and we're taking off to, like I say, move to Tucson, and we get as far as Asheville, North Carolina, and fall in love, and so we wind up staying there. And then 2 years later, I'm on away at Thanksgiving. My wife at the time decided she didn't want to go that year. I was about to find out why. When I'm at Thanksgiving at my cousin's house in the Hamptons in New York, I get a phone call from her saying I've moved out. That we're done. I thought when I got back we were going to marriage counseling to try to work things out. She decided, nope, I'm done, I'm gone. I've already moved out. While I was in New York. I was devastated. Man, recovering from that was rough. I thought, how do I recoup from this? How do I grow from this? I found myself in the shower sometimes. Every day I'm just breaking down. I don't have a clue what to do next. I was so devastated. She left this card of the marriage counsel that I thought we were going to go see together, with a note saying, you really ought to go see this guy. It's a man named Dr. John Waterhouse. For those of you who don't know the name, he, besides running the Center for Spiritual Living in Asheville, became the president of our entire movement. And so finally, I was in such a bad state, I go, okay, I'm going to call this guy. And so I went and saw him. I walk into his office, and he smiles at me. He goes, you are the darkest person I have ever seen in my life. And I like it. For 3 months, he's trying to talk me into going to his center. And I'm like, I don't do that. I'm not doing that. How many of you People were telling you really ought to check this place out. And you're like, I don't think so. And then finally decided to check it out. I finally did. I went, and his wife, Barbara Waterhouse, who became one of my biggest mentors, was giving the talk that day. And it touched me here. It just so spoke to me, so resonated with me. I didn't see that coming. And that changed the course of my life. In fact, I met a woman, we got married, and we built a house on top of a mountain, a 3,000 square foot house on 6 acres with a gorgeous view. I thought we had the most amazing life until she said, no, I don't want to, I'm going to New Zealand. I need to get away from you, and I'm going so far. I'm going to New Zealand. Just in case you think we might get back together, I'm going to New Zealand. I didn't see that coming. What a ride. But what got me through all this, right, and I was in this teaching at the time. I thought this was it. I knew how to use this stuff. So if you're in this teaching and things still aren't working out all the time, don't sweat it. Don't sweat it. Your higher self has got this. That's the thing about it. That's what I've learned. If you get into the, oh my God, I don't know how this is going to work out, then you're struggling. Ash and I, we're in this space of when things look like they're not working out, we know now. We absolutely know. That just means something else is coming. Because that's how life really works, when you are willing to look that way. What you believe makes it so. And so if you believe the other shoe's going to fall, it's gonna. But if you believe, if you really dig in and know that there's something greater here for you, then you can even see that might be an entirely different route. When I started playing music and became the music director, I had no visions or thoughts about becoming a spiritual leader, getting up before you, talking the way I do these days. I had no idea I would enjoy this. I had no idea how much this would mean to me or how much it would open my heart. One of the things that John used to say to me all the time is your heart's closed, man. You got to love people. And I was like, love people? I don't even like people. And I'm telling you all this because I want you to know what's possible. I want you to know that from wherever you are now, what's possible is extraordinary. I want to be that model for you guys. I'm not up here to brag, maybe a little. But mostly, it's because I just want you to see what's possible. That I started from a really dark place in life. And now I'm like, I love everybody and everything. I can't even believe how open my heart is. And I'm the same guy who was like, love people. I don't even like people. And now I'm this, right? But that's because I transformed. Not anybody else. People still do what they do. Right? People didn't change. Some. My wife, thank God, changed with me, right? We changed together. But it's me. And this is what's possible for you. That when you open to this higher self, when you allow your life to transform, your perceived reality to transform, remember that one of the things I get up here and say every week is transformation does not rectify, it transmutes. When we take spiritual infinite nature and we squeeze it into our perceived reality, we're really trying to fix something. And it will. I'm not saying it won't get fixed. We're really good at that. There's just something greater. There's just something greater available in the midst of anything that is going on. And that is my point for you today. That is the epiphany that I had, was how often, even though I know this, even though I've been through this incredible unplanned life, I still have my moments where what I'm trying to do is fix what it is that's going on and that I'm perceiving as the reality in front of me. So this is, something that takes a little work. Okay, a lot of work. But we have that ability to remind ourselves, there's something greater than this. There's something greater than this. There's something greater than this. Whatever it is that's going on, whether things are going well or disastrous, there's something greater than this. And when we open to that, there is a miraculousness. I find my life miraculous to be who I am today, living the life I'm living, given where I come from, given all the things I went through that got me to here. So that's why I can get up here and say to you, I know this stuff works. I didn't just read it out of a book. I've been living this for decades after decades after decades. And the funniest part is I'm not perfect at it, and it's still working out. You don't have to have this down 100% of the time for your life to work out. I am living proof of that. You just have to be willing to move in that direction. Be willing to be open to the possibility that there is something greater for you. For each and every one of us, there is something greater for you, for us. Awakening consciousness through spiritual community. We do that. We come together to remind ourselves of this greatness that's possible. And this is what we teach here. So if you haven't signed up, you got 50 folks in here who are going to be moving on. Don't move on with them. This is a real opportunity to work with the greatest teacher I've ever met. Doing the greatest work I've ever found. This teaching is extraordinary. What it has done for me in my life is extraordinary, which is why I can get up here each week and say, you really want to do this? This is so cool. And scream it from the mountaintops. We have an extraordinary ability here to open to something greater. There is something greater for each and every. It doesn't matter where you are in life. It doesn't matter how far you've come. It does. It matters. I'm just saying that wherever you are, there's more. I'm not saying that your lives don't matter. That's not what I meant. What I mean is that there's more. There's something extraordinary possible to experience, and it has nothing to do with the circumstances. Nothing. That's the thing about it. As long as we're looking at the circumstances, we're not in that place of something greater, where you can feel it in your bones, feel it in your body. Something extraordinary is awaiting all of us. Thank you. I love you.